Everyone, now that we're done with the ADB SBR system introduction, we can now proceed with the demonstration. Please keep in mind that this is the Vanuatu SBR prototype, but the data inside is just dummy data for demonstration purposes. So this is the login screen along with the NSO's logo. Okay. The default credentials is the admin along with the password. Once you're logged in, it will redirect you to the dashboard page. In the dashboard page, you can see sample metrics. So this, you can see some meta records for this month, and also important ones like the business entries and exits. But these are all specific to Vanuatu's requirements. Okay. This can all be tailored according to the country's needs. An important one as well is the map chart, where you can have a polygon data or GeoJSON data feeded into this uh, map chart. So you can imagine the capabilities of the system. And also you can see some meta activities here, some dummy activities where the users approved or edited some enterprise data. And also you can see the online users, the name of the user and its role, and also the office the user belongs to. Okay, so that's for the dashboard page. For the next tab is the records page. So here is the main data table for the enterprise records. So each rows are the data for an enterprise. You can also click on them to view the data. So in the record card, in this right side, you can see the enterprise name. Again, this is dummy data, along with its enterprise ID or their team or their business license number. It's up to the country. The status of this record, the current status, and then these are the variable groups in this tab. So in the info tab, you can see the information about the enterprise with its identification group, or it has the TIN, license number, an SBR ID, the enterprise or business name. Another sample group is the demographic variable group. They can have the organization type, the turnover, or some financial data, the number of employees, registration dates, can accommodate them. And also the geolocation code as classification. And also for economic group, it can have the ISIC code, or specifically for this country, the VANSIC code. If it's a classification variable, it will have a code here, which is standard, and then the description of that classification code value. You can see them as well for the organization type, for the location, you can have them. Also the country code, you can have them as well. And also the region or the provinces, which is structured similarly with the parent and child structure, like an ISIC code. Okay. And the second tab of this record card, you can have the meta activities of this record. It was edited and also approved by this specific user. Also the date timestamp of this action. So in the history tab, we can do, it doesn't have any versions yet, no previous versions yet, but we can add a new version where we change its VANSIC from growing of oranges to growing of rice. Okay. Once selected, you can save it. As you can see, from approved status, now it went back to submitted status, and it will be up for approval by the supervisor. As you can see, in this historical record or version, before it was from growing of oranges, now it's considered as growing of rice, ISIC code. Okay. It went back to submitted status because there's some edits done to this. So this is the default workflow, but it can be fully modified or tailored according to the country's workflow or processes. Okay? But this is just the default flow of the data editing. Okay. So people, the supervisor or the user can add comments. Supervisor can also flag it. Or let's say, please edit. It's a comment. And then it will be flagged as its status. Okay. You can see the message here by the admin or the supervisor. The encoder or the NSO staff can go to this record and then do some edits again. Instead of growing of rice, you can search for growing of peanuts instead. Okay. Save it. Now it went back to submitted. Okay. It was not approved, the growing of the earlier version, but the growing of peanuts can be approved. When approved, it will be stored as a final version or a version of this record. Okay. So as a supervisor, we can approve, leave a comment as well or a message, submit it, and now it's finally approved. And it will lock in the version of this. So from oranges, now it's peanuts because we approved the peanuts version. Okay, so that's how we edit and read a record via this page. So we can also filter here in the left side. We can add custom filters according to your variables. But for now, let's filter the ISIC code under agriculture. Under crop and animal production. And maybe forestry as well. We can add multiple ones. Click on OK. Now you can see here that it has two ISIC code to choose from, to filter from. Okay. Now when we click on submit, it will change the URL according to the filter and then show only those ISIC codes. The growing of peanuts one, the leafy vegetables, raw milk, vanilla bean. So they are all under crop and animal production and forestry. Okay. So that's how you filter. You can also filter by, let's reset first the filter and then add other data types. You can filter by date as well before specific dates. Say 9:30 date. Submit. So I guess let's filter it. Let me refresh the filter. So let's say because it's too late, let's say it's only before the year 2000. Submit. So when you look at the registration date, it will only return the year before year 2000. Nineteen 1977, 1994. So they're all before year 2000. Let's try after. Okay, so registration date is 2020, 2011, 2013. Okay, so it's very useful to use this date. You can also do between dates and any other filtering about the date. You can also add amounts like or texts. For amount, you can have the number of employees, let's say greater than or greater than 1,000. Yep, you can do, yeah, but let's say greater than 5 million because it's dummy data. Okay, so oh, it's 500,000. Another zero. Okay, now it's beyond or greater than 5 million. Okay, the number of employees 5 million, 6 million, 9 million. Okay, between amounts as well is important. Okay, so that's an example of filtering. You can also filter with statuses. So let's say you're a supervisor or an encoder that would like to see the flagged records. You can do so here. When they're flagged, you can check the comments. Maybe there's a comment by the supervisor. You can do the edits according to the comments. Okay, and then when you submit, it will go to submitted. And then the supervisor will approve this. And then finally, it will go to approved. Okay. Approved records are the ones to be included in the reports. So this is the approved version of a record. Okay. So you can also manually create here accordingly, similar to how we edited. You can also do some quick search. So by default, the quick search is by the TIN or by the name. Okay, so let's search for the TIN. It returns this one. Let's search for a substring of the name. It will include every business name with laborum. Okay, so it's useful for quick searching specific records. Okay, so that's the quick demonstration of the records page. Now we can also do some importing. Okay, an important feature as well, where you can batch import enterprise data. So let's say we have these sample records in this Excel. The columns of this importable Excel is the variable, the technical code of the variable within the SBR system. Okay, so when you look at the settings or the variables first, let's visit them first. You can see this technical code, the one with underscores. This technical code must be exactly the same when you're importing as the column name. Okay, business underscore name, business underscore name. So it has to be discrete so you can properly import, or the SBR system can properly read your Excel file according to these column names. Okay. So we will import this 17 rows with this code or variables. Let's just create a new one. Batch import 1. It should be a file source and a batch update. Is it this one? Yep, this one. Select, save. The basis for identification would be the tin. The update strategy would be upsert or update and insert, but you can just do update. For now, we'll try upsert. Applicable status is not relevant for now. The important one is the resulting status. This one is tells you what status would the imported records would be when they're inserted. I think the realistic one is the submitted one. We validate, click on start. Then it will start processing it. Then once done, it will show you the records created, the number of records created, and that it's completed. Okay, now we can go back to the records tab. And now we can see the new 17 rows. Okay, and they're all on submitted status as we prefer. Okay, so Lucas Store is this one. Lucas Store has a tin of 369. Yes, 369 here, column A. For column B, 37446 as its license number. SBR ID, it's generated by the SBR. Business name is Lucas Store. The principal owner is Luke. Okay. Again, we also added the VANSIC code of 0520_01. So license commencement date, I believe, is not a variable yet, so it did not include it here. Okay. So there we have finally or successfully created the 17 rows. Now we can also do some edits to this, as we've mentioned, the upsert strategy. Let's say let's edit Lucas Store. Let's add or append a string. The end. Let's also change its VANSIC code here. You can also leave other ones unedited, but let's edit Lucas Store. Save it. Go back to file imports. Create a new batch. Let's still call it batch import 1, but with an up or edit appended. Okay, again, repeat. When save, you can select it again. Basis is still tin. So you can imagine you can also have other identification as long as your variable has other identification IDs variable. Okay. Let's say only update, and then once update again, let's put it on submitted, or maybe let's approve them. So we will approve everything here because it's currently submitted, and then we'll put it on approved. They will be also updated. Okay. Start. So now instead of records created, now it's records updated. Okay. Going back. Now they're all approved. 17, and Lucas Store has been now appended with edited on its name. Okay. And also we change its code, VANSIC code, to 1410 here. Okay. So from Lucas Store business name to Lucas Store edited, and then instead of mining of lignite, now it's manufacturing of wearing apparel. How about if we have an error? Let's say Lucas Store has an error in its VANSIC code. Let's go back. Let's try to retain the other ones. Leave Lucas Store as an error. Save it. Save it again, and then the tin again. Only update. Then put it on submitted. It will still go through. You say its records updated 17, but when you go back to your records page, Lucas Store will have a flag as an invalid data. So this is useful because it will not ignore this, because what if the other columns is valid? So it will only, so to prevent data loss, it will still retain the error, but it will get flagged so that we won't lose any data. Okay. So when flagged, the encoder can filter the ones with data errors here and then do some edits or correct the errors. Okay. Okay. And then, yeah, that's how we import by batch using Excel, do some editing, and show some data errors. Okay. So now we can proceed with the uh, reports generation. So we have a sample report here. Let's create a new one. So let's call it enterprise list under mining. Okay. So let's say you would like to have a list with it all of the enterprise's details under mining ISIC code. Okay. Save it. Now you're in the reports wizard. In the first tab, it will ask you for your reports layout. Here in this part, you can select specific SBR variables that you would like to be part of your report layout. So team is important, the business name is important, and also the location and the ISIC code. So if you have a classification code with multiple levels of parent and child relationship, you can select which level, the first level or until the last level. Let's say only the first level. And then go to the third tab, the preview tab. So location code is on the first level of the geographic location. These are the major provinces or major regions. And also for VANSIC or the ISIC code, it will only return the first digit of the ISIC code. Agriculture, manufacturing, okay. But let's try to include all of into the fourth level, up to the fourth level, and the fifth level. Fifth level will include almost all of the digits in the location code and the ISIC code until the underscore of the ISIC code. Okay. So that's how we lay out the report. Now we have to filter it because our enterprise list should be under mining. So in the VANSIC, let's find the mining, which is B. It has 50 codes under mining. You can also drill down and select specific ones, but for this demonstration, we will only select those under mining. Okay, save and preview. Now you only have 10 rows. Okay, only 10 rows. Because we only have 10 enterprises under mining. Okay. So let's save again and then run the report. You will go back to the first page and then you will see a status here. And now it's ready for download. Okay. We have downloaded the Excel file. It will be an Excel file format. With these columns and rows. Okay. So that's how we generate the report, but depending on the country, we can change the generated report. We can remove the first 4 rows, only include the columns. We can do that as part of the technical support. Okay, so you can use this Excel file to generate your charts outside the SBR app or SBR system. It's up to you what to do with this, but it's supposed to be used outside the SBR system. So now we have successfully generated. When you create a report, you can also re-download it, rerun it when there's new data. When there's new data for this report, you should click on rerun. But if you don't like the new report, you can leave the run report here. So for the filters, you can also have dates. So maybe you can have specific dates for the cutoff for your frozen frames or your specific quarters. You can do as of or any other dates. But you can add custom variables in this filter during the setup. Okay? So that's how you generate reports. Now we can go to the settings page, which is an important feature as well. So in this part, it's the user management, where you can have the default rules here. As mentioned earlier from the introduction. So user role, encoder roles, and a new default roles here, where you can edit their granted abilities. So you can grant abilities to the encoder role. You can remove abilities, add abilities to them. But by default, these are their roles and their abilities. Okay. So administrator has all of the abilities here by default. Here. Okay. So these are just the default accesses, abilities, and roles. We can tailor this according to the country's needs. And also the offices, user offices can be added in addition to the NSO. You can have the industry department, the customs department to have their own offices here and have access to this. But that's an optional feature. So by default, there's only a central office to the NSO. And also, the NSO has 3 teams, the administrators, encoders, and supervisors. Okay? And then in this part, the specific, there's 3 specific users. So you can edit them or change their password, those kinds of settings. Okay? So that's the user management, quick user management. And then an important one as well is the data variables. So variable groups is the 3 ones that we have. Say variable group here. Let's go back. This one, the 3 ones, they are declared here. Okay. And it will also show you the variables under that group. So identification group has business name, the teen. Economic group has the ISIC codes. Demographic has the dates, the number of employees, those kinds of variables. So variables is the specific uh, the tables for the specific variables along with their data types, the text data types, the date data types, and also the classification data types. You can see them here. And also their technical code, which is important for importing via Excel. Then variable options is also these are the classification codes. These are the variables with classification options or multiple choices. Location have multiple options, organization types, and also ISIC. So ISIC code has all of this data. You can drill down and have all the children and review the current codes that the system have. So you can review the current variables here. Okay. So this is also the regions or the major islands that you can also drill down into the smallest area. Okay. So this is the custom variables for this country or country specific variables. Okay. Organization type. So you can imagine your own country specific classifications here. You can also have when you're supposed to edit them, you can go here in this link. This is when you're setting up the system. We won't have to go through this today, but as a glimpse, you can edit your variables here. Okay? So you can see the technical options here. But this is not the current variables for this version. I believe it's this one. Yep, this is much more latest variables Excel. So you can do your edits here to the variables, and then upload them here, reread the files, and then it will be updated, the variables. But yeah, we don't have to cover this feature for now. You can just have a look or peek to the variables management. The data type, the English name, and also some localization or local script here, those kinds of variables management. Okay. So going back in the settings page, we can also have the sources and integration feature, which is an important important feature as well. This is optional, but when the SBR system is established within the NSO, they can connect this ADB SBR system to other external systems, okay, via API. So you can imagine there's an already seeded here. You can imagine the customs department can send data. The customs department can send data into the ADB SBR system using this configuration. So in this sample, this is the endpoint for incoming JSON data from the customs department system. Okay. So when this is enabled and valid, you can have a PHP file to handle the business logic when receiving data from the customs department system. Okay, they will send you or the ADB SBR system and through a URL. This will generate a URL similar to this one where they can send JSON data like an API, exactly like an API. This is the URL where they will send the JSON data, and then your PHP, your IT developer's PHP code or business logic will handle all of the data coming in. Okay? So no need yet to go in depth the technical part of this feature. During the trainings, we can do so. We can explore this more with the IT teams. But this is an important one to receive data, JSON data from other departments or external systems. Okay? And then another way to send data. This one is inbound data from customs, incoming. And then in this part, the target, we can also send data outside. Okay? So you can imagine this one, this configuration. Industry will receive industry department's dummy endpoint URL for sending JSON data. So the ADB SBR system can send JSON data to this URL, this one. So Department of Industry.gov.vu, and this is a dummy URL, API/post. So the ADB SBR system, the IT developer can create a business logic or a script to grab data from the database, for example, and then send the JSON data to this URL. So the IT developers of the ADB SBR system, the NSO, and the Department of Industry IT team will have to collaborate with each other on how they will communicate. But using this feature, it would be much more easier. You just need to code your script inside the system, inside the server. You can create your PHP code, and then that will be the one to send JSON data to the Department of Industry. So that way, you can have two-way communication between external entities. Okay? During the developer trainings, we can discuss this more. Okay? So that's how you will be able to send data to external entities, which is useful for integration. Okay? Next is some system administration settings. You can configure date formats here, date and time formats, the thousandth separator, decimal separator. But this is useful during the setup phase when installing the system. You can also determine the unique identifiers, the auto-generated IDs, the lowest auto-generated IDs, the industry classification, and some record statuses, the workflow here, and some reports filters. What filters is available during reports creation? This one. You can declare this variable, what variables to show up here in this part. Okay. And then some technical stuff for the administrator. Okay. And then the record middleware is also an important feature for integrating with other external systems. This is the record middleware listens for events happening inside the SBR system. So you can enable some events when there are edits to the records and then saved. So this middleware will send updated records to industry department once approved. So you can enable events here to listen for triggers. Then when you update records, it will send that record when you approve them to industry. So that's just an example of a triggered events. Okay. And then also some records is displayed to change the order of the records page columns. So if you would like, you can prioritize the ISIC code to be shown first. Let's go back to records page. Now you can see VANSIC is now here instead of being at the end, if you remember. Okay. You can also remove columns to be shown in the records page. Reorder and add, remove here. Okay. Then we can also see some meta audit logs. So 25 minutes ago, we did some file import. We did some reports creation, report update, download, and some source API configuration updates. Okay, so you can trace what happened within the SBR system. Okay, and also when going back to the dashboard page, you can have um, localization options here. Okay, but there's no translation yet, so there's only placeholder values here for the translations or localizations. Let's go back to English. Now it's properly formatted here. Okay. And so there's a spike here because we imported the records from earlier and also did some edits and approvals. Okay. This dashboard page again can be edited and tailored according to the country's needs. These are just dummy charts. Okay. The map chart is also clickable or interactable, which can certainly be a helpful feature. Okay. And I believe that's all for the quick demonstration of the ADB SBR for Vanuatu prototype. And thank you for watching this demonstration. Hopefully you have learned or gained more insight in terms of SBR systems and how they typically work. So the ADB SBR system is mainly for fully customizable and hopefully suitable for most countries. It can be a bit of a sandbox where you have to customize everything, create your custom variables, but it can certainly help adjust to other countries' workflow. Okay, and thank you for watching, and hopefully this is a helpful one to watch. Goodbye and thank you.